Next, we come to the Muppet of the month, or Muppets of the month, and in this instance, this is it just makes me just shake my head. It's that kind of Muppet. It's not on the same level as someone who's destroying, a monument, or putting a bird hide, for example, on a Neolithic cairn, and it's also not entirely innocent. It's not like a slap on the wrist Muppet. This is one that just makes me just shake my head. It's the news that a candidate in a northern British Columbian riding, and incidentally, I didn't know that in Canada they had ridings. I thought that was a Yorkshire thing, the East Riding, for example. But that's
Well,
nice to know.
I think the clue might be in the words British Columbia.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Canada was colonised by British people from the British Isles by and large, and obviously there's a large French population too. But British, so
Okay.
various. It was obviously an import.
Yeah, apparently. Anyway,
Jacob Rees-Mogg would love that.
he would.
You wanted to use
No,
the old
no,
measurements.
no. The jar is closed. No, no more Brexit. Anyway, the candidate, a political candidate from the Canadian Conservatives, it seems, has purchased a human skull as a birthday present for her boyfriend, according to a Facebook post. Now, well, I'll come to the reaction of the Facebook post in a second. The actual post was as follows: Claire Rattay, tattoo artist and piercer, is the best girlfriend ever. My birthday present came to me today. My first real human skull, says Oliver James Brown. And it's from the 1700s. So happy. What an amazing gift, babe. Thank you so much. And there are various hashtags, including,
Which I will come to in a moment.
well, I'm not going to tread on your toes, don't worry. But for example, one of the ones that irritates me is hashtag real human skull, hashtag death awaits, all this sort of thing, hashtag macabre. And I understand the instinct. I understand how it's exciting to have a skull. It's very Sherlock. It's very gothic. It's very cool. In that sense, to a certain aesthetic, and I subscribe to that aesthetic. I have a skull mug up there, but it's not a real human skull. And I have to say, I'm on the side of Tracy Downey, executive director at the Prince Rupert Aboriginal Services Society, who said that a normal person who comes across something like this would want to find out where it came from, who it's from, and return those remains to whomever they belong to, even if they're not Indigenous. She thought it was an appalling post. Distasteful, at the very least. That's kind of where I'm at with this Muppet. It just makes me just go, why? And also, actually, frankly, from a professional standpoint, it's not been a particularly well photographed human skull either. There's no scale there.
Well, it's sat on bubble wrap,
and the bubble wrap, it's encompassing the skull. It's not been very well displayed. It's as though he's just opened up a statue, actually, that he's received in the post. As one might do if I don't know. I know people who get Batman statues, this kind of thing. It just makes me shake my head.
Well, I think it's perfectly obvious why they've done it.
Uh-huh.
Well, if you look into the article, look at the hashtags. It's one massive publicity stunt.
You think?
Yeah. Well, I think the clue might be in two things. Right. Remember the names of these two, the two principals.
Yeah.
We've got this woman Claire Rattay,
Mm-hmm.
and we've got Oliver James Brown. Now, if we look at the article, Rattay lives in Kitimat, where she was a city councillor. She operates a tattoo studio with Oliver Brown. Okay, so she's a tattoo artist.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. No. Okay. And there is a Gothic tradition, a goth tradition in metal and tattoos and biker culture and so on. So
yeah, but also a steampunk
aesthetic
as well.
So the skull
Yeah.
might turn up in that context.
Mm-hmm.
She's a tattoo artist, and if you look at the hashtags alongside the sort of, again, slightly gothy, macabre, Santa Muerte, death awaits, no one gets out alive, da 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 da. She also, or he also.
Can I just say, they're like half a sentence, half, and that's wing away from just doing hashtag YOLO there. That's we're just like, ugh.
But
anyway, go on.
Yeah, but the important hashtags are hashtag Battle Axe Tattoo Artist, hashtag Divine Ink.
Yeah.
this is a publicity stunt.
And it was tagged at Oliver James Brown is at Divine Ink when he posted it. Presumably, he must have received it when he was there or something. Yeah.
Exactly.
But does that make it any better?
No, it's completely cynical. I mean, the article we're looking at is in a Canadian news source, news website. It's it's not particularly detailed. The article does. There is some sense that there's some sense in the quotes that there's some sensitivity there. She was Ms. Rattay was obviously phoned up. She refers to a phone interview, and there was obviously one of the questions was, how do you know that is this a skull from a First Canadian? And the pre-colonial population, which would be very sensitive if it was, very offensive if it was, particularly offensive if it was. And she says, no, the skull I purchased is actually a European skull. The main reason behind it is that it's something he wanted for a very long time. We're tattoo artists, so it's really important for us to have a good reference for our art.
Then buy a really good medical grade casting, or buy a really good donated skull. Don't buy a muddy, goodness knows where it's come from, 1700s European example.
It was very expensive and came with documentation.
I don't give a... Sorry. I don't care. Sorry, I'm really coming down on one side of a fence here, in so much as it's not the way you should treat remains. And the thing is, the reason why I'm doing this is that because in the past we've been highly critical of the likes of Nazi war diggers, or Battlefield Recovery as it's now been rebranded, for doing essentially this, juggling human remains for the sake of publicity, and not quite knowing what they're doing. And if you want a good reference point for art, which is a very limp excuse, then there are ways of getting nice, clean, crisp, undamaged skulls through legitimate means, through markets and through websites that sell, for example, into the medical profession or into high schools and this kind of thing. This one, it just makes me shake my head. I'm disappointed, I think, because this was someone's head, and I can't imagine that someone in the 1700s wanted to have their skull used as a reference point for a tattoo artist in the year 2019.
Well, absolutely. But I mean, I think the other thing that the article does highlight, if you read further down, it highlights the ambiguities in the legal position and the fact that there's actually probably more of this stuff around than you might expect. I mean, it quotes Section 182 of the Criminal Code of Canada, which says anyone who improperly or indecently interferes with, offers any indignity to a dead body or human remains, whether buried or not, is guilty of an indictable offence, liable to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 5 years. But at the same time, it quotes the Skull Store in Toronto, where you can buy an ancient... where you can buy an ancient mummy hand or foot, or a child's shrunken head and a Dayak skull from Southeast Asia. And it also quotes Sean Graham, who's a professor at Carleton University in Canada, who says that a lot of these human remains, in his experience, were imported in the 19th and 20th century for the purpose of scientific study, and particularly looking at genetics and scientific ethnography attached to effectively scientific racism. And
the categorization of other humans. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And he makes the point, the absence of law doesn't make something morally or ethically right. Just because there's a law against it, it doesn't mean it's something that should be done or celebrated. I think that's probably where we should end, really, because it's just a really... I'm sure they're a very happy couple and they love each other dearly, and it's in another world they might be picking fleas off each other or something. In this case, they're swapping skulls. Lovely.
Yeah. Yeah. It again just makes me shake my head.